Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today we're going to be reacting to How Shiva Overcame Lust, Episode 1, and then Episode 2, Can You Escape Death? These are relatively short, so I don't want to have... I think there's a 5 episodes to this thing, so I'm going to do 2, and then 1. And, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do it. So, How Shiva Overcame Lust. It's kind of weird to think of, in my opinion. I'm assuming these are going to be great deities and gods to have human qualities. But at the same time, not, because you look at the Greek and Roman gods. I'm more familiar with them. They're very much just humans with God undying, I guess. I'm not very familiar with the Egyptian gods. I don't know whether they have human qualities to them. But you always think of gods as being uncorruptible. Uninfluential. Not basically they can't be corrupted, just that simply. But yet lust is a corruption in a sense, because it's something, any qualities that human has is corruptible. Yes, pride can be corruptible, love can be corruptible by lust. Pride, when you get too much pride, you become arrogant or a show off or something like that. But it's really weird to see these qualities are in God. So anyways, let's hear what Sadhguru has to say about Shiva overcoming lust.
These two eyes can only perceive that which is physical. The third eye is an inward focused eye. Your lustfulness, your desiring nature never ever stood outside, it only stood inside.
Okay, sorry to pause so quickly, but that was okay. I've heard of third eyes before, and I've heard them kind of spoken about, like inner, outer things, but never really well defined. So the third eye is meant for an inward look. That is actually, I've never heard it explained. That's a very basic explanation, I'm sure of it, but never heard it explained like that before. Oh, that's actually
Lust
neat.
means it creates a sense of incompleteness within you and a longing for something.
When we say Shiva, the word Shiva has become synonymous with the third eye. The third eye, what it means is, these two eyes are to look outside. These two eyes are capable of showing you the physicality of the existence. These two eyes can only perceive that which is physical. The third eye is an inward focused eye. It's not going to open up upon your forehead. The third eye is an inward looking eye. But you have heard stories, Shiva opened his eyes and he burnt Kama.
In India, there is a god of love and lust called Kama. Kama means lust, which you don't like to face it head on, so you make it love. Because you need some aesthetic to it. So, he hides behind a tree and shoots an arrow at Shiva's heart. Tuck, it hits him and Shiva gets a little disturbed. Then he sees it's Kama. That is, it's his own lust coming up. Then he opened up his third eye, a fiery eye, and burnt Kama. He was hiding behind the tree, but he was burnt into ashes. Then Shiva took the ashes of this burnt Kama and smeared himself. That I have put these things to rest for good. That is the general story told to the people. But you tell me, your lust arises within you or behind the tree? No, you may go behind the tree, that's another matter.
I've never heard lust said as something lacking, but that is true. Lust generally, at least as far as I've heard, is always meant by love. related to sexual desires, because I guess there are other definitions for other things wanting. So, well, I don't know what those definitions are, those words are actually, but I'm sure lust, generally speaking, has been always about sexual desires, and I'm sure there are. Crap, I can't think of the word now. It kind of briefly popped in my mind. Where you have other desires too that you want, like being the CEO of a company, or inventing something, or starting up a channel. There are these desires that you have, and it can be looked at negatively if you pursue them in such a way in which you, how do I say, I'm not too sure about this, but basically if you just basically burn everything behind you. The way to say that, you'll do anything to get that position, even if it means harming other people, not necessarily physically, but in terms of like friendship and relationship. You're willing to just basically burn everything behind you to get to the future. If that means losing your friends, your loved ones, your family, just to achieve that, that's an overwhelming desire for that thing, because that's the one thing that you desire so much that you're willing to burn everything. Now, there's going to be some cases where this desire that you look for will end up burning some bridges, and sometimes you do have to make sacrifices. Like, again, maybe you don't hang out with your friends as much, but you still cherish them, but because you kind of don't hang out with them, you kind of lose connection a little bit. You're not necessarily burning a bridge intentionally that way, but maybe once you get to the top, you can start hanging out with them again, or just make new friends. Again, that's not intentional burning of a bridge, but there are people out there willing to just scorch earth to get what they want. And in some sense, that's the potentiality of lust. It's that very strong desire.
But where does it arise? Within you.
Desire is not hanging outside. It is not because a beautiful woman or a beautiful man is sitting there, your desire comes. Because the desire, the karma is within you. So he opened his third eye and burned the karma within himself, not the one who is standing outside. Because he never ever stood outside. Please look at this and see. Your lustfulness, your desiring nature never ever stood outside, it only stood inside.
So he opened his third eye, not this way, inward. Then he saw this lustfulness, which essentially means that some aspects are built into you which makes you feel incomplete. So you think you will find completion only by going towards something or somebody. Lust is not just about opposite sex. Shopping is lust. Because you have to go towards something, only then life will be complete. Every desire is lust, because without that I cannot exist.
Yeah, desire actually. Desire. I wonder if desire is actually above lust. Again, being nitpicky here, but I never heard anyone say lust as something like a lust for a purse or a lust for a car. There's always this desire. Desire encompasses a lot, like desire for a car, a purse, or a person. But for a person, it's generally a lust. For a car, it's generally something else. I don't know what it is, I don't think. But maybe lust is above it. I probably need to look up lust again.
I want that, because only when I have that, this will be complete. It may be a thing, it may be a position, it may be power, it may be sexuality, it doesn't matter what it is. Essentially, lust means it creates a sense of incompleteness within you and a longing for something that it makes you feel if you don't have that, you're not complete. So he decides to burn the karma within himself. He burned the karma, and then instead of sweat, ash oozed out of the pores of his body. This is the yogic story. The common story told to the public is he was hiding behind the tree and he burnt him, opened his eyes and burnt him, and then he took that ash and smeared himself. The yogic dimension of the story is karma arose within him, he opened his third eye, burnt him, and then ash slowly oozed out of his body, clearly showing him everything is laid to rest.
Everything that you know as yourself should die. When I say death, it's not the physical death which is a problem. The question is losing everything that you know as myself right now, your personality, your identity.
Once you learn to be an individual beyond physiological and psychological formats, that means you're for good. This is what living death means. So if you know how to be an individual still, without physiological and psychological format, you are a living death. If you are a living death, you are eternal in your existence. It is time that you become living death so that you live eternally.
Living death. Death.
But there's a certain dimension of consciousness which can go beyond time. Yama came to claim his life. Markandeya, who knew the ways of life, just did one simple act. They say he continued to live as a 15-year-old because he came in touch with that dimension of consciousness which we refer to as Kala Bhairava.
Oh, sorry, I was enjoying that song at the end. Oh, and I love the artistry too. It's so… I don't know who's doing it. It's really, really nice. Alright, so living death. It's weird. Death generally means the end of something. But generally also, when there comes to an end of something, there's sometimes a beginning of another. I'm not sure if it's all the time, but I've always heard that phrase. It is believable when a tree dies, its corpse generally provides nutrients to the things around it. Same thing for us. When we die, we leave our body to the earth reclaims it, and it gets reused again. It's just a constant recycling going on. With every death, there's life. Hopefully forever, I don't know. But yeah, living death. So that's I think that's going to be supposed to be part 2, I believe. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick.
But there's a certain…
Alright. I guess they had a preview for that at the end there. I was thinking about stopping it because don't want it to be spoiled, you know. That's like a preview. Alright, let's go ahead and get the second part started. How Shiva stopped time for Markandeya?
Dimension of consciousness which can go beyond time. Yama came to claim his life. Markandeya,
Oh, with karma.
who knew the ways of life, just did one simple act. They say he continued to live as a 15-year-old because he came in touch with that dimension of consciousness which we refer to as Kala Bhairava. We have known Shiva as various energy forms. Kala Bhairava is a unique manifestation of Shiva, which is in the form of time. You cannot manage time because it is running at its own pace. Energy you can manage, you can play with it. Time is running at its own pace. But there's a certain dimension of consciousness which can go beyond time. That dimension of consciousness is referred to as Kala Bhairava. There's a beautiful story in the tradition. All of you who are
from the Indian background at least, you definitely have heard of Markandeya. The story is told in many ways, this needs to be understood. Markandeya was a child. When he was born, or before he was born, this choice was made, the parents had to choose. Either they'll have an idiot who will live for 100 years, or a brilliant, shining being who will live only for 16 years. The
Whoa, 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 whoa. 100 years on… What do you mean by idiot now? There's two different levels of idiocy in my book. There's someone who's very intellectual in something, but complete idiot in common sense or wisdom. So basically high intelligence, low wisdom, or high wisdom, low intelligence. And the way how I define intelligence and wisdom, I really want to keep saying this because I don't know if everyone watches my videos or not, but I do distinct intelligence and wisdom as two separate categories. I think of someone like Richard Dawkins or Neil deGrasse Tyson as intelligent, and I categorize like Osho, Swami Sarvapriyananda, Sadhguru as wise. And then I don't know, but I consider Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these people to be very intelligent. That doesn't mean they lack wisdom. Wisdom is something that you do by experience and by thinking about things. And when you devote so much of your time into your intellect, as in like the researching the cosmos, or Richard Dawkins, I think he's a biologist? I don't think so. I'm not sure what Richard Dawkins is. I remember watching him a long time ago, I can't quite remember. But you have to really, you focus more on your time on your intellect and not so much time on your wisdom. Whereas Sadhguru, Osho, and all that focus their time on much of their wisdom and not much time on their intellect, just because you have a limited amount. There's only 24 hours in a day. And you have to sleep and eat and use the restroom, but there's only so much time you can learn certain things. If you spend half your time on your intellect and half of your time for wisdom, you will not be the wisest person nor the most intellectual person. You'll just be the average person in a sense. So that's the reason why I say these people are intellectuals and these people are wisdom. You will never become wise by becoming super intelligent in something. Even being intelligent in something doesn't make you intelligent in everything, because there's so much to learn in certain subject matters that you become hyper specialized and say like not astrology. Wait, is this but anyways, into like microbiology or history or geography, or I forgot what the rocks are called, studying of the rocks, because there's so much to learn in those fields that you become hyper intelligent in these specific fields, but you lack then intelligence in astronomy or I don't know what else. I don't know what other fields are out there, but engineering or whatever other STEM fields are out there. Wisdom, on the other hand, there is a lot of paths in wisdom. I don't know how they're categorized, but generally speaking, it's just, yeah, I don't know how many paths there are in wisdom. It just seems like one path, because life is life and there's nothing else to it. I mean, that's not to say there's like life is just boring, but it's literally life. How to live life, how to be life, how to talk to people. I guess that's it right there. How to enjoy life, how to live life. You can live life and not enjoy it. You can enjoy life and not live life. Well, actually, I don't know if that's possible. But there's also ways of talking to people, communication, reading people. All that is also wisdom, in my opinion. Because if you're able to read body language, that is, and also understand people, that is, in my opinion, is wisdom as well. But again, I've not really narrowed down exactly what these parts are, but those are generally what I believe to be wisdom.
parents were wise, and they chose the later that they bore a brilliant, shining child of enormous capabilities, but as days passed, as years rolled, they became… because they know the expiry date. Every child you bear has come with the expiry date, it is just that you don't know the expiry date, including yourself. But now they know the expiry date of their child, so they became very tortured as the date came close. And they revealed this to the child because the child was phenomenally wise and knowledgeable. And when the moment came, when the god of death, Yama, came to claim his life, Markandeya, who knew the ways of life, just did one simple act. There was a form of Shiva in the form of an ellipsoid or a linga, an energy form, which was particularly consecrated as Kala Bhairava, and he just held the linga. The moment he held the linga, time came to a standstill and death could not approach him and held him right there. Then that dimension of consciousness opened up within him where he was not available for time anymore. They say he continued to live as a 15-year-old boy, never turning 16, because he came in touch with that dimension of consciousness which we refer to as Kala Bhairava.
Kala means time. Kala also means nothingness. Kala also means cycles on one level. Kala also means beyond cycles on another level. So these things are, in a subtle way, they're deciphered. Kala, Kala Bhairava, Mahakala, these are all talking about the same thing in different dimensions of experience. Right now, our experience of time is all because of the cycles of the nature. Anything that is in cycles, we can measure how many times it went around. That's how we are coming to understanding of time. And Kala Bhairava is just making an embodiment of that so that we can access it, creating an energy space where we can access that dimension. Because I think in Tamil, the word that is used is very appropriate. When somebody dies, they'll say, Kala Maitanga. That means his time got over. So it's very simple and it's perfect. All that happened is the time got over. They don't understand, we are like timed toys, we're just going on. When the battery runs out, poof. It's just that most human beings don't realize time is ticking away. They think they're on forever. No, we are toys of time. Time is playing with us right now and it's getting over. You do something, it gets over. You don't do something, it gets over. You burn intensely like a volcano, it gets over. You just be insipid, it gets over. Do whatever the hell, it is getting over. So you are just a toy of time. So Kala Bhairava is to access that dimension so that you become a master of time. If you become a master of time, that means you become a master of life too, and the life process, because all life process is based and rooted in time.
It was guaranteed.
Okay, that's for the preview for the next one. We will watch it for the next one. Alright, so how Shiva stopped time. Oh, okay. Okay, I misunderstood. It's like, I thought Shiva stopped time, but no, how Shiva stopped time for Markandeya. So I'm not too sure how to understand that story other than it seems like I'm sure I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Markandeya is about how to make use of your time so that you get the most out of it. That's what I'm understanding so far, because obviously our bodies aren't forever. We do have a limited time, and how you spend that time, well, that's what I believe this is for. If you just sit about and do nothing and mope all day and you're essentially wasting time. But I have this thing that I say that be responsible. So if you're wasting time and you know it and you accept it, meaning that you cannot complain about something that you can do something about. So If you choose to lay in bed because you're mopey or sad, then you cannot complain about your actions there because you chose to do that. So, and again, if you do that and you say, yes, I wasted time, it's my own fault, that's perfectly fine. But there are, my biggest issue is people out there who don't take responsibility for actions, and when they mope around all day and it's like, oh man, I'm in bed because I was moping because of what someone did. That person shouldn't have done that. That's all his fault. It's his or her fault, the reason why I'm moping around all day. You're not taking responsibility for your own actions. You chose to lay down in bed. Hey, look, maybe sometimes you get really emotional and you want to just lay down in bed to cool down. Perfectly fine. Just in these times, it seems very lacking. People seems very lacking in responsibility, and no matter whether it's a good or bad thing that you're doing in terms of yourself, again, like wasting time, so long as you take responsibility for it and you understand that you're doing it and you don't blame anyone else other than yourself, if you are to blame yourself, then that is fine, in my opinion. Because sometimes you do need to waste time, even though it may not seem like you're wasting time. So for example, again, like I said, just cooling down to clear your head. Meditation. Some people will say that's wasting time, but if it makes you a better person, it is a worthwhile time to spend. Much like, again, laying down in bed just to cool yourself down. It is, in a sense, you're not doing anything necessarily physical, but you are doing something to yourself, a betterment to yourself, so that you're able to handle the day a lot better. So again, take responsibility for your actions. That seems to be very lacking in today's time. Anyways, that's the end of these 2 episodes. I'm going to see about the next 2, whether I can combine them. So long, if they're short, I'll combine them. If not, then they're going to be their own episodes. I'm weird now. I used to do short episodes relatively. I mean, they're relatively easy to do because they're short and I can get them out in time. Now I'm kind of wanting like 50-minute episodes. But anyways, that's the end of this 2 episodes. I'm gonna go try to start another one. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.